So as you do see, the equations will be provided for the homework checks and also the tests. The reason is because, frankly, I also don't have these memorized myself. Because I haven't done conics since when I did pre-calc 10 years ago. So
10 years ago, you were 13.
yeah, I was a freshman, right? 13.
Yeah, he's 23.
How old are you guys? Don't you start high school when you're 13?
I started in high school now, it's like 14.
Yeah, you start when you're 13 or 14, right? So anyways, guys, today we're doing parabolas, and then the next class we're doing ellipses, and then 10-4 is hyperbolas, and then we'll have our test. So we'll split up the chapter into two parts. So as you guys know, parabolas can be either vertical or horizontal, right? So we know we have a vertical parabola whenever we have an x squared, right? Because that's just a normal quadratic. So either it'll open upwards or it'll open downwards, depending on the sign of A. On the other hand, if we have the x isolated on this side and the y being squared, then it's going to be a horizontal parabola, right? It'll either open to the right or it'll open to the left. However, we're going to think about parabolas in terms of their standard form, which may be different from the standard form that you've encountered previously. But the standard form is given on your equation sheet. It's the first line. And let's think about vertical parabolas first. So the vertical case, we have x minus h squared equals 4p y minus k. Okay. So hopefully you guys remember what h and k are. Yeah.
X and K is what?
H and k are the vertex of the parabola. So that's the convention. We use h for the x coordinate and k for the y coordinate. So this is going to be a vertical parabola. So I'll draw it like this. And the vertex V, I'm going to label it with V. It is going to have a coordinate of h comma k. Kind of blocked. Okay, so a parabola also has two other important things, which is called a focus and a directrix. And the focus is going to have coordinates h comma k plus p, where p is this coefficient here in the equation, right? So you have to understand what p means. So on the homework checker test, when you guys have the equations, you're only going to have the letters, right? So you're not going to have anything more than this. You're going to have to understand what the letters actually correspond to and how to use these equations. So that's the focus. It's going to be h comma k plus p. And the directrix is a line. And it'll be given by y equals k minus p. So let me first explain what a focus and directrix actually are. So the definition of a parabola is actually the set of all points that are equidistant from the focus and the directrix. What that means is that every single point on the parabola is equal distance from the focus and the directrix. Doesn't really look very equal here, but just believe it. Okay, so for example, this vertex here has to be the same exact distance from the focus and the directrix, right? Meaning that the vertex is going to be right in between the focus and the directrix. And this is true for every single point that's on the parabola.
No ways.
What?
Not going to do this thing.
Yeah, it's not drawn to scale.
No. Would you fail me if I do that on the test?
No. Okay, so that's what a definition of a parabola is. And so that tells us that the focus and the directrix are going to be the same distance from the vertex. Okay? And so if the vertex is at h comma k and it opens upwards, then that means the focus will be p units above k, right? Because the focus must be upwards, and you're going to add p to the y coordinate in order to get the y coordinate of the focus. And then similarly for the directrix, which goes in the opposite direction, you're going to subtract p from k. Any questions about this? So this is the case whenever p is greater than 0. Okay? So this is for p greater than 0. You can probably guess what would happen if p was less than 0. If p is less than 0, what you're going to have is actually the focus will now be below the vertex. So if this was the vertex, then now my focus would be below the vertex, because the vertex is still going to be at h comma k. But now, because the focus is h comma k plus p, right? But if p is negative, that means that k plus p will be less than k. So the focus will be below the vertex. And in the same way, the directrix will now be above the vertex. So it's very important to note the sign of p. Any questions? Generally speaking, if p is positive, the parabola will open upwards, and if it's negative, it'll open downwards. So should be easy to remember. Another important thing to remember, the parabola always opens in the direction of the focus. So the focus is always kind of inside the parabola, quote unquote. Any questions? Do you guys know how parabolas are used in real life?
Mountains. Bridges.
No.
Cannonballs.
They're used as mirrors.
What?
All right, you guys don't learn this in algebra?
Oh. Sound waves?
The reason they're used as mirrors is because whenever you have a point source at the focus of a parabola,
Satellites.
it'll always be reflected as parallel beams. So anytime you have a point source of light or sound at the focus, the beams that are reflected off the parabola will always be parallel to each other. Okay, so that's why mirrors in telescopes are always parabolas, or mirrors of your car headlights. Those are all parabolas. Or on the at the NFL they have the sound guys, right? You guys know what I'm talking about? Like the people who are recording the sounds of the quarterback calling the plays. They'll have the mirrors, right? You guys know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. Yeah. Radar missions.
Anyways.
Yeah. And like if you use a trebuchet to like launch a horse over like a past a wall, and it's a parabola.
Sure, yeah. Yeah, so if you put the microphone at the focus of the parabola, then all the sound will be captured and focused at that point. So that's why those are used for the sound things. Anyways, that's unimportant because in this class we care about math, not real life. Okay.
Math is real life, right?
No.
And
Horizontal parabolas. Math is an abstraction. It's not real.
Why are we learning?
that's like made of
Why do you say you're learning it?
Because it can be useful for real life, but it's not real life in and of itself.
I would have thought based on your article on mathematics and theology that it would have said it was real.
It is real, but it's not real life.
Well, then-
Anyways, let's talk about horizontal parabolas. So whenever it's horizontal, you'll see the y being squared instead of the x. So that's the key difference. Notice, however, that the h and k, they travel with the x and y. So the k is always sticking to the y, and the h is always sticking to the k. So h is still the x coordinate, and k is still the y coordinate. All right, so what would this look like? Once again, let's address the p greater than 0 case. If p is greater than 0, then our parabola will open to the right. Okay. That's because right is always positive, right? So you can remember like that. Once again, our vertex will be at h comma k. So our vertex is at h comma k. However, for our focus now our focus, we're going to have to add p to the x coordinate, right? Because the focus is to the right of the vertex. And so p has to be added to the x coordinate in order to get a focus. However, the y coordinate will remain the same. In the same way, for the directrix, now the directrix will be a vertical line. So it's going to be a x equals something. X equals h minus p. So when you guys are labeling the directrix on your homework, you must have x equals something or y equals something. If you just label a number, it is wrong. I will take off points and you will be sad.
You on our homework?
Yes.
You got it. I was gonna say.
They're synonymous. Any questions? I'll also draw the p is less than 0 case. So when p is less than 0, our parabola will open to the left, right? My parabolas are looking quite good today. So our vertex is still going to be h comma k, but now our focus will be to the left. Quiet, please. Boys, Ruhan. Focus will be still at h plus p comma k, but now p is negative, right? So h plus p will be to the left of h. And then the directrix is to the right now at x equals h minus p. Any questions? Any questions? Let's do an example. And then you guys can do the classwork.
All of it.
First page, once I do an example. Okay, let's try one. Suppose that I tell you guys that the focus is at 3, 8, and the directrix is at x equals -1. And now I ask you guys, based on this information, please find the standard form of the parabola. So that requires us to find h, k, and p, right? H and k is where the vertex is, and p is telling us how far the focus is from the vertex. Okay, so a good first step is always to graph it. When you're graphing it, make sure you're not confusing the axes with the directrix, as many people do. So the focus will be at 3, 8. It's helpful to label it. So 3, 8 will be here. Our focus is here, 3, 8. And our directrix is at x equals -1. So that's somewhere around here. Directrix x equals -1. All right, so where would the vertex be?
One, no, 1, 8.
Yeah, good. 1, 8. Because the vertex is always in between the focus and the directrix, right? It has to be right in between them. And so that means the vertex must be right here. 1, 8. The reason why it's 1 is because that's the average of -1 and 3, right? So 3 minus 1 divided by 2 is 1. So 1, 8, and we get 8 because we have to share the same y coordinate as the focus, right? Because if the directrix is vertical, that means the parabola must open horizontally. So it should have a horizontal axis. Okay, and then we're going to recall that the parabola always opens to the parabola always opens towards the focus, right? And so the parabola must look like this. That looks disgusting. Okay. And so based on the way the parabola is facing, should P be positive or negative? Positive because it opens to the right, which is a plus. And so that means that P will equal 2 because the focus is 2 units away in the positive direction from the vertex. And then H comma K, the vertex is just going to be 1 comma 8, right? And then lastly, we want to make sure that we're plugging it into the right form of the equation. It's a horizontal parabola, so we have to use the second one, right? Y minus K squared. So it's Y minus H squared equals 8 times X minus 1. Right? 8 because it's 4 times 2. Any questions? P equals 2 comes from the fact that the focus is 2 units away from the vertex, so this length here. And it's positive because it's opening to the right. So if the parabola opens to the left, then it would be negative 2. Okay, through the first page. I looked at the sheet. Honestly, this is not many equations. You guys could memorize it. Let's start the second page at 12:15, okay?
No, I think. Yeah. Real, oh my goodness. I'm not kidding, I just plugged it in.
What's the group energy part? Not this. Yeah, why is 2 right here? Yeah, like 0. Way off. No, because I'm going off.
You mean the first or second equation on the sheet? I don't know your question. So the vertical one is always with the x squared. Horizontal is y squared.
For H and K, isn't it off of the focus or the
Vertex.
Oh, the vertex. Oh, well,
So this equation is horizontal. Vertical?
Yes, this is horizontal, this is vertical. You can tell based on the x squared and y squared.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
And I think, yes.
Did I'm not gonna be here. I don't know. Wait, I don't know if teachers already know. Like, I'm not gonna be here on Wednesday or Friday because of Becca.
Yeah.
So I just wanna like let you know. Wednesday.
Missing 2 out of 3 lectures in the whole chapter.
We will have an information meeting today, Lauren.
So it's like this, right? So far. And then to find the directrix, it's just like two. What two, right?
Yeah, it'd be y equals -2.
And then what's P again? I don't really understand.
P is the distance from the focus to the vertex.
Oh, so it'd be two.
Yes. And you know it's positive because it's facing upwards.
Thank you.
Could you check for me if these two are correct?
Two is wrong.
Okay. Is it this?
I mean, you don't have it drawn at all.
Oh, I have to draw it out as well.
You'll get it wrong if you don't draw it because
I mean,
just the way.
I just have to draw the vertex.
I mean, I can tell you got it wrong because you didn't draw it.
So
If
I
you
can
drew
draw
it, you
out
would
again.
see oh, you're wrong.
Wait, is it this part that's wrong?
It's all wrong.
Wait, I thought H and K are like the vertex.
That's fine. H and K are 0, 0.
So,
But you're not using the right equation
oh, so it should be Y,
because it's a horizontal parabola.
but I thought
X equals 1 is not
direct
Y.
X equals, oh, that's Y. Oh, okay,
Yeah,
yeah.
furthermore,
Odd,
you should
odd,
draw the
odd.
parabola.
Oh.
Handwriting. Not funny. Not funny. 5 is wrong.
5 is wrong.
Yes.
Yeah, let me check it.
Well, why is my sideways? Got it. Oh. Yeah. I don't know why. I go the opposite of
When you're not given the focus, how would you find it? Because we're just giving the
Right. So you know the focus, you know the vertex has to be in between the directrix and the focus, right? So if the directrix is at 1 and the vertex is at 0, the focus must be at -1, right?
so it's always like equal length. Both okay.
Okay.
No, I found it.
It's 4P.
Alright, check my answer for number 2.
So what is P, right?
1/2,
Why?
because that's the average of the focus and the vertex.
P is the distance from the
Oh.
focus to the vertex.
Oh, so it's -1.
So P is -1, yes.
So it's -4.
Yes. And then the H and K, right? H and K, H is 0 because the vertex is 0, 0.
I was this wrong if P equals 1 or P, right?
P is -1.
Cause it's going this way.
Should be 5 minus 0 equals negative.
Number 2. Turn a pencil down. But you, you're right there.
Yes, good.
So, did you right here, the vertex you got the order is origin and
Wait, what is the correct? Guys, it's so vertical line.
It's basically like I'm just gonna send it.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh.
What's
It's like this.
This is between, like, from the vertex, I've seen the same condition in the book.
No, wait, I have. What is north?
Yeah. It's
Actual area text about this. Yeah, okay.
So this one-
Kenji,
in horizontal parabola, you then
With the back?
use y minus k.
with the back?
You know the run rate is back to?
Yeah. Yeah, you can work ahead.
It's
Yeah, you can wait without using your laptop. It's the distance from the focus to the vertex. With the sign depending on whether it's facing up or down or right or left.
Is this plus? Is it fine?
It depends on your graph. I mean, P is not 2. P is -2. Well, P is not 2. It's -2 because the parabola is facing left. So that means this should be 7 plus 2. This should go correct. Good.
Oh, you're really stressing.
Good.
No, no, it's a different. Oh, this one. Yeah. Like the ball.
I'll probably do that.
Yeah,
All right, shall we start with the next part? I think we're almost done, so. Yes.
So I'm on such low sleep. That's
All right, guys, let's start. You guys are done. So sometimes, please be quiet. Sometimes we have to go in the opposite direction, meaning that we have to start from an equation and determine all of the different parameters of the parabola. So for instance, we might have something like negative 1/2 x squared minus x plus 1/2 minus y. So this is a parabola, right? But how do we get to the standard form from this equation? We would have to complete the square, right? So do you guys know whether this parabola faces, is it vertical or horizontal? Vertical, yeah, because it's x squared. Okay, so to simplify this, well, let's first start by moving all the different variables to one side. So we'll move the y to the right side. I'm also going to move the 1/2 with it, actually. So we'll do negative half x squared minus x equals y minus 1/2. Okay, that's a good first step. And then our next goal is to try to get rid of this coefficient in front of the x squared, because that will make completing the square a lot easier if we're able to get rid of that. And I will do that by multiplying both sides by -2. That leaves me with x squared plus 2x equals -2y plus 1. Agreed? Agreed. Yes. So how do I complete the square on the left side? You guys remember the formula for completing a square, right? Anytime we have x squared plus bx, we can complete the square by adding b over 2 squared. So we take 1/2 of the coefficient of the linear term, as long as the coefficient of x squared is 1. That's the criteria. So as long as we have that criteria satisfied, we can divide the b by 2 and square it. And this will simplify as x plus b over 2 squared. Yep. So in this case, our coefficient is 2. So that means we can add 2 divided by 2 squared, which is 1. So we'll add 1 to both sides. So plus 1 and then plus 1. And this will allow us to complete the square. The left side becomes x plus 1 squared. And the right side is -2y plus 2. Any questions about completing the square? All right. So next, to get this into the final standard form, we're going to want to factor the right side so that y is isolated, or so that y doesn't have a coefficient anymore. So that'll help us to extract what 4p is. So in this case, we're going to factor out the -2 And that'll leave us with y minus 1. Okay, so now this is our standard form. And this will give us all the information we need to graph the parabola. So this tells us that h comma k is going to be -1 comma 1, right? Because this is x minus -1, and this is y minus +1. So that's how we get h and k. And then p is going to be -½ because 4p equals -2. And so p equals -2 divided by 4, which is ½ Any questions? Yes.
Sorry, why was the H negative one?
H is -1 because this is x minus h.
Okay.
So that's x minus -1. Any other questions? So if we were to graph this, we would plot our axes, and then our vertex is at -1 comma 1, so that's right here. And if p is ½ that means that this parabola must open downwards, right? Because we have x squared, so it's vertical, but then must open down because p is negative. So that tells us that the parabola should look something like this. Vaguely like that. With the focus here, actually it would be here, right? Focus here and directrix there. Okay, let me do one more example. I'll do 6D, save you guys some work. Any other questions?
What was the formula for finding the square?
X squared plus bx plus b over 2 squared.
You gotta remember the B over
Completing the square, right?
Yeah.
We'll do it one more time, so you'll see. Okay, so this is 6D. I have 3y squared minus 12y plus 7 minus x equals 0. So my first step will be to move the x to the right side to separate the variables. I'll move the 7 as well. So I'm left with 3y squared minus 12y equals x minus 7. Next, I have to isolate the y squared, get rid of that coefficient. So I'll divide both sides by 3. I'm left with y squared minus 4y equals 1/3 x minus 7 over 3. And so now I have y squared minus 4y, and I need to complete the square. And so to do that, I will divide the linear term coefficient by 2. So that's -4 divided by 2 squared, which is plus 4. Make sense? -4 divided by 2 is -2. The -2 squared is +4. So I'll add plus 4 to both sides. It's a different color. Okay. That leaves me with y minus 2 squared equals 1/3 x plus 5/3. Any questions? And then the final step is factoring the right side to extract the 4p. So we're left with 1/3 times x plus 5. Questions so far? All right, so what is HK? Yes. So the vertex is at -5 comma 2. The reason why it's -5 is because x minus h is x minus -5, and y minus k is y minus 2. What is p?
112.
4p is 1/3, and so p is 1/3 divided by 4, which is 1/12. Okay, so this will be my information for the problem.
Be positive. Oh, it's just because if it's negative on the right side, right? Negative right side is
Yeah, P is positive. All right, so what is the focus in the directrix? You also have to find that. So I know the vertex and I also know P. So I should be able to find the focus, right? All right, so is this parabola facing right or left? Yes, it's facing right because the y is being squared, so it's a horizontal parabola. And it's facing right because P is positive. So that tells us that for the focus, we should be adding 1/12 to the x-coordinate of the parabola because it's to the right. So that's going to give us negative 59 over 12, comma 2 for the focus. And then for the directrix, because it's a horizontal parabola facing right, I should actually draw this, shouldn't I? Yes? Because this is a horizontal parabola facing right, and so that means our directrix will be a vertical line, right? So that means our directrix will come with the x equals. And it'll be x equals negative 61 over 12. Because now we're going to be subtracting 1/12 from negative 5. So that's our final set of information. Okay, so tricky part is really just getting all the signs right, but one very helpful way to always get it correct is just by drawing it out. And that should make things make sense.